off
They have
success. It
activists
wasn't a
instead of
flop.
filmmakers. That's the problem. And no one wants to watch something that's preachy and boring.
Candace Owens Jr., listen, it's not a flop.
It's a flop.
Barbie did the thing. Barbie did it.
Barbie was an abomination.
And so all this argument about woke and this, at the end of the day, it was a fresh, original concept. People want to go see diverse films, but they also want to see things.
No, they don't.
So, to be clear, Barbie was not a film about diversity. It was a film bashing men, attacking the patriarchy, and saying that all the good things in the world are female. And the only funny thing about it was at the Oscars, it was all about Ryan Gosling. Ken had the last laugh.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. A little bit of a different video today, not a topic that I normally cover on this channel, but as someone who grew up in the 90s, I was born in the late 80s, I used to be a massive fan of Marvel comic books, the Star Wars movies. I think like a lot of people, I loved these characters. And to see what's happening with Disney and the stories that they tell and the DEI nonsense, it's like that Star Wars skit, we've all seen it by now. You take a male character and just make her female and make her gay, and there you go. That's it. That's their whole agenda these days at Disney. They don't focus on storytelling, which really, if you just wanted to make a lot of money like you did before, these are popular characters. They have an audience. Just follow the source material as closely as you can and don't mess it up and make a good movie. The story is out there for you, but they get these people that have no associations with the characters. They never read the books. They don't know anything about them. Piers Morgan on his show, who Piers Morgan is actually becoming someone whose show I enjoy watching. He seems to be on the side of common sense these days. And they were talking about all the Disney flops that have happened in the last year and why that is. And he had Nerdrotic on there, Critical Drinker, Esther Kraku, who I don't really know much of, but I know her from the Piers Morgan show, and I'm down with her. She's on our side. And they will debate the very woke, pro-DEI fellow on the far right of your screen. Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with Disney, because there's a huge civil war raging with Disney, with board members, investors, all trying to work out what is going wrong with the recent series of flops, because Disney is not used to having flops. Nelson Peltz, who's a serious investor in Disney, has criticized Disney's woke strategy in an interview with the Financial Times. He said, why do I have to have a Marvel movie that's all women? Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to do that? Why do I need an all-black cast? What do you think of this? I mean, Critical Drinker, there's no doubt Disney's in a pretty poor run at the moment. How much of that is down to woking up the movies?
I mean, I think it's definitely a factor, but it's part of a much bigger picture that incorporates other issues like a general decline in storytelling quality, a prioritization of quantity over quality, and yeah, like delving too much into identity politics, which by their nature are divisive. Of course they are. And so all of those different factors working together have slowly undermined their creative output to the point where all of their major franchises are failing. Star Wars is kind of a disaster at the moment. The Marvel Cinematic Universe that used to be this money printing behemoth is churned out flop after flop in recent years, and even their own their own unique animation movies like Wish,
Haunted Mansion flop, Pixar flops all over the place.
Yes, exactly. All of those different aspects of their creative output have flopped, and they've got nowhere to go at this point. Clearly something has to change. What they're doing is not working anymore.
What they're doing is not working. People are tired of it. Even people that are not into politics, like you guys are, like I am, that don't follow this stuff closely, even they're tired of having these agendas shoved down their throats. Now, it's not only because of the woke nonsense, also bad storytelling, and like Critical Drinker was saying, the oversaturation of a market. When Disney Plus came out, they had to provide their subscribers with content, a lot of content, and that meant making lots of shows, making lots of movies, and movies that might not be the greatest, and shows that might not be the greatest, just to pump stuff out instead of focusing on quality over quantity. But it's hard to run a streaming platform when you do it that way. But a big amount of it is the woke nonsense. And now all these Marvel movies are failing because of this agenda that they're trying to push. Now they have these budgets of $300 or $400 million for these movies, and you have to double that for marketing. Generally, the cost of the movie gets doubled in marketing. So you're looking at almost like $1 billion, $800 million for some of these movies to get made. It's insane. Let's get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, Nerdrotic, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, a comic book tale featuring a strong female lead. The Marvels, a comic book movie featuring a diverse cast of strong female leads. Elemental, Disney's first animation featuring their first strong non-binary lead. All flops. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. People who are intent on attacking Disney, saying, well, this is because they're pursuing a strategy that's not based on just producing great movies. They're pursuing a strategy trying to appease the woke brigade, who will come hunting for them if they deviate from the woke worldview. Your thoughts?
The woke brigade that's within their building, right? So,
right.
You know, we see all these third-party companies in gaming that's going off right now. But like Disney is that third-party company. They are the DEI department. Lucasfilm is the DEI department, and now Marvel is too. And it was really easy for comic book fans to figure this out because we read the comic books. She-Hulk, for example, was a great comic book. It was reverent. It broke the fourth wall. That the famous run is by John Byrne, and I love the comic book. She-Hulk was a member of the Fantastic Four. This is one of my favorite female Marvel characters, and they destroyed her because they don't know what they're doing. I did a clip in one of my videos of all of the writers for most of the Disney Plus, stating that they didn't know anything about the comics and they didn't read the comics. And that's part of the reason, because they're just there for identity politics. We used to joke about they're just checking boxes when they're literally checking boxes now.
Exactly. These people that are making these movies, they have no interest in them. I'm hoping Deadpool will be good. I have faith in Ryan Reynolds and that crew. That movie will be good. Again, I'm a fan of these movies. Not to the point that I get upset about this stuff, but it does irk me because I grew up on these characters. And there's the little fan in me wants to see good Marvel movies. Now, you can make a case that the first batch of Marvel movies, look at the cast in those movies was incredible. Every movie that came out, they made massive amounts of money on it. But the stories were good. The first Iron Man's terrific. The Avengers movies are good. Captain America, The Winter Soldier, I love that movie. When they used to focus on story and making good movies and staying somewhat true to the source material, it's not a hard recipe. Already have the fan base.
Right.
Which kills creativity.
Ernest, you'd be sitting there grimacing. Yeah. I mean, it's clearly demonstrably not working, this strategy. And I've just looking from the outside, look at it and think, yeah, they have been too concerned about identity politics, too concerned about appeasing their very woke workforce. And they should have just stuck to doing what Disney does best, make great family films and make a ton of cash.
So there's a lot of misinformation, and I think the issue is that no one here is actually really reading the real strategy. The problem is several things. There's a missing implication. There has been, arguably, films that were super successful. Black Panther had a predominantly Black cast, not all Black cast, and made $1.3 billion at the box office and had a really successful sequel. The reality is that when you start saying woke or DEI, there's another implication there where you're implying in many ways that what is the opposite of lack of diversity in those films? It's feeding to an all-white cast or majority white cast and the lack of diversity. I don't think that that's what Disney's trying to do, and I don't think that's what Hollywood should do because it doesn't reflect the society we live in. However, what's missing in this conversation is that the reason why a lot of these films are not doing as well is because many of them are spinoffs, sequels, or there's just overall fatigue in the market where people want original stories. So I do think that rather than try to make this a culture war, which really it isn't, it's more of a change in taste from the audiences and what they want. Let's keep it 100. Pixar has not really made too many original films that have really been able to be fully marketed. And there's been an oversaturation of them. There's an oversaturation of Marvel. But if you look at other films elsewhere, there has seemed to be a trend of liking diversity, TV shows, streaming platforms. And so this seems to be a little bit intellectually dishonest to frame it in this way. I think there's another way to look at it.
I'll come to Esther at once. I mean, I would just say, my favorite movie the last few years was Top Gun Maverick, because it just did what it said on the tin, right? The guys behaved like guys, the women behaved like women, bad guys got slotted, and the good guys were heroes. I mean, that used to be how movies got made in Hollywood. They celebrated the basics in life. Now they're too busy worrying about what the basics in life actually are.
I agree with Piers Morgan on that one. One of the best action films that came out was definitely Top Gun. I saw 3 movies at the movie theater in the last few years. Both Dune movies, Oppenheimer, and Maverick, Top Gun Maverick. All excellent movies. My girlfriend and I used to go to the movies about once a month before, especially during rain season here in Thailand, which tends to happen in the summer when all the blockbusters are coming out. So we would go and see them once a month, twice a month, go to the movies, get the popcorn, get the drinks. And the last few years, we've not really done that because it's all been shit. Utter garbage. I'll give the pro DEI fellow some credit here. He is right on something. There is oversaturation. I think people did have comic book saturation with all the series. And I think also what messed it up is because I don't subscribe to Disney Plus, and I don't have the time to watch series. I have the time for standalone movies, but to watch series and then the series go into the movies, and then you have to watch all these series on Disney Plus in order to watch the one movie, people give up. I don't have that much time. But people don't want diverse movies. And if you had some diversity in there and the movies were excellent and the stories were great, and that goes for video games too, nobody would care. Now, I'm one of the people who did enjoy the last Batman movie, the one with that Patterson fellow. I thought the movie was really good, and I enjoyed it all the way through until very close to the end when Catwoman mentions his white privilege. It's like, man, I made it through the whole movie almost without any nonsense. And you had to throw that in there because I was enjoying the movie. I saw it at the theaters, and that line just deflated me. I said, man, why did that need to be in there? Anyway, let's get back to the clip.
Esther, your thoughts?
Well, I think that the argument that they've not been making enough independent films and that's why they've been flopping. Well, the independent films that they have made have also flopped because they've not been focusing on storytelling. They're always thinking, how can I have a transgender Muslim black woman in there? And they've stopped thinking about storytelling because they actually look down on the audience that they're targeting. I also think there's another dynamic here, which is actually the media. So the media works against them. So if you actually just wanted to tell a story and the entire cast of that film was white, even before you watch the movie, all the promo will just be saturated by these sort of pink news articles saying, oh, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transgender. So even before the film comes out, you have media working against you. So in that, and the media will be easily disseminated. So that will kind of kill the buzz before anyone bothers to watch the film. And I think that's the issue. They've stopped respecting the audience and they feel the need to preach to them.
I just think that's so right. I just think Disney should go back to what they're good at. It's a fantastic company that used to make fantastic movies and hardly ever had a flop because they knew their audience so well and they didn't attack their audience.
Those movies were not sequels.
Sorry,
a lot of those movies were not sequels. A lot of those movies were not.
But going back to Black Panther, did Black Panther succeed because there were black people in it? No,
it was a great story.
It was a recognizable character that comic fans that I have been reading since I was 6 and 7 years old.
And the thing is, they tried to replicate
the
same exact formula for Black Panther with the second one, and it made half as much. Clearly,
half as
were
much.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I want to be clear.
And no one talks about it anymore.
In his statement, I want to be clear that Peltz did say in that interview that basically argued that the Marvels and Black Panther, he didn't even want to get Black Panther made. And in Iger's book that he came out in 2019, he referenced that they had to fight to get Black Panther to come out.
That was Ike Perlmutter, not Nelson Peltz.
Why? Yeah, right. Right. Why?
Who's backing Nelson Peltz? Why?
Right. Why?
They didn't think it would sell action figures, and he was obviously wrong on that one. And he didn't want Captain Marvel made either. But there's a lot of fishiness around Captain Marvel. And then when the sequel came out, which was the most predictable flop of all time, it flopped. It was their biggest flop. They didn't put any effort in it because they didn't put any. If you watch Captain Marvel and read the books that she was based on, she was Carol Danvers. She was Miss Marvel. She was a likable character. They turned her into a dude. And Kevin Feige is the one who put out the edict. He said, we're going to make half of our characters women. That's where the MCU comes from. I didn't create it. Nobody created it. Kevin Feige created it. He's the one who said, I'm going to put down this edict and I'm going to start checking boxes. And that's exactly when they started failing, right after Captain Marvel. It's been all downhill from there. Very few of their movies have made money because the budgets have blown up beyond we don't even know. We just learned that Doctor Strange cost around $300 million without marketing.
But by the way, that's the same thing that they did to Barbie. Can I just point that out? I know comic books are not as popular as Barbie, but I'm a huge Barbie fan. And the people who made Barbie didn't bother to watch one of the 47 animated Barbie films. If you actually are a fan of Barbie, the Barbie film that was produced last year and made all that money, it was a complete abomination because they didn't even bother to actually do any research. This is the thing.
I've not seen Barbie, nor will I see Barbie. I've heard way too much about how it's a man-hating feminist film. I'm not giving my money to that. When it first came out, we were going to do the Barbenheimer, see both movies. And then all the stuff about Barbie started to come out, and my girlfriend and I, we both thought, we're not going to be into this. We're not going to be into this movie at all. Now, my girlfriend's the most feminine person I know, but she is by no means a feminist. They mentioned Black Panther. It was a great movie. I enjoyed Black Panther. I've not seen the second one, but the first one was good, so no one cared. And yeah, some people really liked it, and it made a lot of money.
They have activists instead of filmmakers. That's the problem. And no one wants to watch something that's preachy and boring.
Candace Owens Jr., listen, it's not a flop.
It's a flop.
Barbie did the thing. Barbie
was an abomination.
And so all this argument about woke and this, at the end of the day, it was a fresh, original concept. People want to go see diverse films, but they also want to see things.
No, they don't.
So there was nothing diverse about it. We're talking about Barbie here.
Films.
It's ludicrous.
They don't care about
and Barbie had nothing to do with it.
They're not talking about each other. But let me just be clear. To be clear, Barbie was not a film about diversity. It was a film bashing men, attacking the patriarchy, and saying that all the good things in the world are female. And the only funny thing about it was at the Oscars, it was all about Ryan Gosling. Ken had the last laugh as Margot Robbie sat in the seats, unwanted and unattended. And I love Margot Robbie, but let's not pretend what Barbie was. It was a box office smash, and as Esther said, an abomination. A man-bashing abomination.
I don't know anything about Barbie, so it's hard for me to criticize it. That lady just said that it wasn't accurate to what other Barbies or the Barbie cartoons or the animated movies would have been. So I can see if you're a Barbie fan, that would bother you. The same way that what they're doing to all these comic book characters is upsetting to a lot of people, or to these video games. Now you look at the video games and animation series, the women don't even look like women. They're not even pretty anymore. And when you say that, the woke people say, why do you care? It's not, it's not porn, it's just cartoons. It's not about that. You can have, the men are still all buff and chiseled in games and in animation. The same goes for movies. And I'm not even a video game player. I don't play games, but I used to when I was a kid. And you much prefer to look at a pretty character. The same way when you go to the movies, good-looking men, good-looking women, that sells. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that you like to see good-looking people on screen. Who cares? That's why you go to the movies. You don't always go there to get culturally enriched. It's an escape from reality. Anyways, good little clip. Piers Morgan has been an ally to our side these days. I don't think he always was. Let me know what you guys' thoughts is on all of this. Again, a little bit of a different video for today, but this is a fun topic for me because, like I said, I grew up with these characters. I used to read the book as a kid. I was into sports and comic books. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash that thumbs up button if you did. Catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.